All right, let's see. So Alistar. I think Alistar.
Oh, they already tiered Amumu. I like how Amumu's just there already, and it's like.
So Alistar.
But yeah, Amumu
Alistar's
is going to be top tier. At the highest level, I think early leads will snowball really hard.
Annivia. I think Annivia is not terrible. She's
Should
probably
be one
like
of the
B.
strongest early gamers. Alistar on C. So far, Alistar, what I don't like about Alistar is he's weak in early laning and he's very reliant, like his cooldowns are very long. So if his combo ever gets flashed or stopwatched or whatever, he's kind of useless for the rest of the fight. But if he gets a really good starter, he catches them off guard or he flash WQs before they can react, he can be a really strong engaged support still. I do think against a lot of the meta champs right now, he'll have a really hard time laning. He also has one of the strongest roams. I think C or B is fitting for him because he kind of one-dimensional a little bit. Though I do think we will see Alistar played at Worlds because Alistar has been around forever. So the player comfort level on this champion will be really high. And so usually people will potentially be better on this like older comfort pick than like a newer pick that they're not so comfortable on.
Blitzcranck. Blitzcranck he's always good.
Well,
I guess A.
Did they talk about Annivia at all?
No. This is B. I mean, it's just
Because condition? Or what?
yeah.
Well, I'll
Brad.
just briefly talk about Annivia. So Annivia, she is kind of popular in Korean solo queue because there's that one booster in Korean solo queue that plays and Wind Trainer that plays Annivia at a pretty high level, and he goes like TP and MOB boost or whatever. And I think if you're really good at using the wall, she can be a really good pick. It's a very unique spell that other supports obviously don't have access to. But I would say, considering the fact that most players probably aren't going to be practicing her, I don't think we'll see her at all. And in terms of like champion strength, I would put her at C, like one tier below, just because I think wall and stun are her main things, but she doesn't get like a big ultimate like Amumu does or Leona, you know. It's just a little slow. So she's just like, her whole kit is revolving around using her Q and W well. Yeah, I personally would not tier her that highly, and I don't think we'll see her either.
Brad is terrible.
Yeah, you go
okay,
Predator and you roam at like
Brand.
level 2 or 3 because she's a 2 or 3.
Okay. All right.
Like I said, her Q
Braum,
and W is all
terrible.
she needs.
Galio, terrible.
Better than C. Braum is better than C.
Okay. Now I think these are some controversial placements. Blitzcranck B. Blitzcranck is weird because I do think his placement depends on when he's picked, you know. When he's picked at a really good time, like in a matchup that is favored for him, like an enchanter or whatever, he can be A or S, you know. He could be the best pick in some drafts. And there's times where he plays against like an Amumu or Leona or Nautilus or whatever, and he can be like one of the completely useless, you know, Alistar even, Braum. So I do think Blitzcranck, I mean, assuming at Worlds that they're picking him at the best possible time, should probably be A. But if we're just saying like overall, not too far off so far. I would say Braum has always been pretty good and competitive. You don't want to blind pick him really because he will give stuff like Yummi a free lane, and he will lose that lane pretty hard too, though he can always roam. I just think this champion has always been really consistent and will always kind of be useful in skirmishes and fights, which will always happen because dragons, right, and Rift Heralds exist, and there are objectives that you have to fight for eventually. Maybe not Rift Herald, but dragons for sure. Because fights are being forced, I think Braum, I would place him in B or A too. Okay. So now let's look at the Bard. Bard, I would also place him in B. He has pretty weak laning, but he roams the map so fast. And being able to create numbers advantage, and as a range champion, being able to create engage from such a long range with his ulti are some pretty invaluable characteristics in competitive. I personally think his laning and skirmishing early is kind of weak, so I wouldn't place him on A ever, but I would say we would see at least a couple, like 1 or 2 picks of Bard in World at the very least, and I think B tier. I would place him in B. Galio is interesting because there's 2 times I would pick him: when you're against a lot of low range champions and his W gets a lot of value, or if you have like a Camille and you can have a really strong engage power with Camille Galio ult. But besides that, I don't think he really fits.
I think.
I'm not going to argue.
Galio,
Galio is so bad, by the way, but he might actually be played.
Galio is horrible.
Yeah, Galio is legitimately bedroom tier. Leona.
B?
I wonder why they think Galio is so
Yeah.
bad.
I mean, maybe you put her A. I don't know. Like
He has a semi-global and good CC. I just think you need to pick him at the right time. Did they pull him down? So are they not even going to rate him? Oh, he was at C before. What I do agree with is that the best support undisputed should be Amumu. I think because he can lane, because his roaming early game is really good and he can start roaming even from level 1 if he wants to. Because his mid game is really good. Yeah, skirmish power is good. Roaming's good. Laning's good. Then he kind of checks all the boxes for competitive support and he can engage as well. And he's not really entirely countered by cleanse because he has 2 bandages and ult. So Amumu being S makes sense. And I mean, I don't know if you guys saw my last tier list, but I didn't really put anyone in S because I just feel like a lot of the supports are rock, paper, scissors, and situationally one support can be better than the other a lot of the times. So I do think it's like correct that all these champions being clumped into one tier. I almost feel like their B tier is like the A tier almost. So I'm curious what they put in A then.
I didn't even know if I would put Amumu S, to be honest. But yeah.
No, I think.
Oh, are they gonna move him down? Okay, then that would look really similar
champ S. I would
to
just
mine.
put Amumu A, I think.
I literally I don't think any support is S tier too. I agree. Let's see what they say about Leona.
I guess for supports, there's no actual
they're talking about moving down
broken
Amumu.
support. Every support can really be
Everything
answered.
feels the same.
Yeah.
Wow,
it's
actual
all
same
very
conclusion.
Similar.
Same.
Yeah.
I think so too.
It's all
I
very
think so
similar right now.
Too. Wow.
I guess some
great
Amumu-
minds think alike.
Okay.
I think Amumu is A. He's better.
No. Up. Move it
Leona
back
is
up.
between
Thank
A
you,
and B,
Nemesis.
If you want to like look it that way.
He said it.
Uh,
Okay, so the reason why Leona is kind of sussy is because, and not A, she did get those nerfs to her W that makes her a little bit less tanky. So if she ever like dives in slightly too deep, she will actually die before her teammates can arrive. Before you kind of has a little bit of leniency, like you could go in a little bit early and just be so tanky that they'll blow all their spells on you and you'll still live. But now it's not like that. And also her old problems, right? Not really strong level 1 or 2, needs level 3 most of the time to start skirmishing, and really weak to cleanse and late game items in general. She does not do well against banshees or edge of night, stuff like that.
Just keep going.
Gragas.
Not good. C maybe.
Janna.
Which is interesting because didn't Ellis used to like Janna? I mean, I don't disagree that she's bad. It's almost as if the rise of the other enchanters kind of put Janna has always been countered by other enchanters, like the ones that can heal and shield, because she's poke, you know, poke loses to heal. She'll never outlane like a Nami or Soraka or Sona or Yummi. Not only will she get outlane, she'll also get outscaled. She'll have to make a lot out of her roams. And she roams really fast, but her roams don't stink there. It's tough to like get, unless people like really into her, which in solo queue happens a decent amount. But other than that, yeah.
B.
Yeah,
That's why I think they're placing her on D.
Thresh.
B.
B.
Yeah.
He said B too. Nice. All I'm saying is so far we are looking. Oh, when did they place Karma? Karma is also B. Yes. I feel like their B is like A. You know. And then like technically Amumu's S, but then like they just shifted everything down because we don't think there's a S tier support. So then now the B is like, you know what I mean. Anyways, Karma's really strong at laning. You know, usually in competitive, it favors these champions to have specialties, you know, because as competitive players, you can have a game plan as a 5, like how you're going to utilize each champ's specialties to the max. And Karma, what she's really good at is laning and early skirmishing. She's really powerful because she gets her ulti at level 1, and obviously Thresh is there because this champ does everything. Still it would take a lot more nerfs than, even though he's just been getting only nerfs, it would take a lot more than that to kind of make him not good, because Lantern is such a unique spell and it's just a free flash for your 80 carry on a 12-second cooldown or less the more ability haste you have. So I think just the Lantern alone makes him B tier, I guess. Lulu? Okay. Before they place it, let me guess. Okay, I'm guessing they're going to place Lulu in... I'll place her in C, personally. Because the reason why Lulu got... The nerf to her was really small. The only problem is all her counters got buffed and are kind of popular right now. Lulu has always lost to, like, Yummi. She's always done poorly against Soraka and Nami. These picks that don't have to dive into her, you know. Lulu likes divers, both on her team and against her team, because when you dive into Lulu, she'll just polymorph you and she'll ulti and you'll get knocked up. But if you're just playing like the enchanter, you're just buffing your backline, then Lulu will actually lose out to like a Yummi or Nami or Sona even. Let's see where they're placed.
B
Yeah.
or A, B?
Lux.
B.
C?
Oh, I know. They like her because they like her as a flex. I'm talking exclusively support.
Maokai. He's D. Nautilus.
Horrible.
Nautilus.
So for Maokai, even though his win rate is pretty high in solo queue, what I don't like about Maokai is it feels like his best build when he was good was a sapling build. You know, sapling high zone control with the ulti and the saplings, right? But after the saplings got nerfed, people started playing him like Q max with like aftershock, WQ. You know, I think that build, it's not bad. It's not bad, but when you compare that build, you have to compare it to other people that do tanky and CC, you know. You're comparing it to Amumu, you're comparing it to Leona, Alistar, you know. And when you compare those, does Maokai really win out? I think what he does have over all of them is the ulti, but I would much rather have like an Amumu. And his laning is kind of bad because unless he all-ins or has threat to all-in, he'll just like get poked really low, and his all-in requires flash too. I want to place him far down as D though, probably C for me.
Nautilus is horrible too.
C.
You want to put Nautilus C?
I mean, he's same as Alistar. They're both horrible. Like, who cares?
Nautilus is always interesting because a competitive team will always pick Nautilus because he has no counterplay, you know. These are the best players in the world you're talking about. And what do all the best players in the world have in common? You can't outplay Nautilus ulti. It's targetable. You press it, the fight happens. You're CC'd. And that is kind of really valuable in a competitive setting, I think. So I would put Nautilus to a same tier as the people in B tier. Yeah, I would put him in a B tier. I think Nami is only good with Lucian. And I think Nami with Lucian is a really strong combo. And I think it will be played at Worlds. This combo, like as a 2, one shots the ADC at any point, it feels like. The electrocute Nami. I expect to see Lucian Nami at least once.
Look you and horrible and competitive.
I think she's not that bad in comparative, but I can't see her being played anyway, so.
Yeah. Pike.
I think she's C
I
at
think
least,
we'll see
though.
one time.
Alright, I'll move her C just because of your vote. Pike.
Pike is
good, but
Poppy.
it's really unreliable. The thing about Pike is, honestly, he's a good pick. Lethality items are in a good state. Like, he personally is in a pretty strong state, but you can't replicate his success every game, you know. And that's the main problem with him is he's really flippy, whether or not he's like snowballing or not. Because from behind, Pike is the most useless champion ever. He doesn't have a comeback play, you know. But from ahead, he snowballs out of control because he keeps duplicating his gold, like doubling his gold for his teammates too. It's just crazy how much gold he generates. Like in terms of champ strength, I would say C or B. But in terms of like competitive strength, probably not going to get played.
D. Poppy shit. D.
Morgana.
Yeah, Poppy's awful. B.
No.
Morgana, before they even talk about it, is good only as a counter pick. And even as a counter pick, you have to be very responsible. Like you cannot, she will lose any of these matchups if she makes one mistake, you know. But if she, like a Caitlyn Morgana against Leona, it should be unplayable for Leona. And same for Rakan too. So I think like picked at its best, it's a B tier, especially since her spell shield got buffed.
No. C.
No one's gonna see the sad thing is no one's gonna play her even though she fares so it's just sad.
I know.
Yeah.
Portal is gonna look very interesting, Alice.
Wow. Okay, sorry.
Tumble.
Okay, yeah, I think B is fine too. B or C is fine.
Candle is like.
Got way worse.
I like
after
him
the
more
nerfs.
than a lot of these C champs, to be honest. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, after the nerfs,
his best role.
Yeah.
I would not. I would put him
I
D.
think I would put him B.
D.
Rakan.
All right, that's a big difference, but I don't like this champion.
B or A
after they nerfed the pillar
I think
man.
everything sucks, so Rakan is not that bad.
Still okay against Leona though.
Rell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rakan belongs in B because he is one of the most versatile champions that doesn't lose lane too hard. He can roam through lane. He's like, his laning is fine. I don't think he like Omega loses matchup. Maybe against Caitlyn and Sivir, pretty bad. But I think most support matchups are okay for him. And then his roaming is really good. So even if he's suffering in lane, he can just roam through lane through top. Like Camille Rakan, it should be a free kill every time. And for mid, like LeBlanc, Rakan, just jump on her. And he has good pairings for bot lane too. Like Xayah got buffed and he's good with Tristana.
Maybe
Yeah,
make
you.
another tier list for him.
Seraphine.
Seraphine, okay. Seraphine, I actually would place in D tier. Even I know that they like her, but she is a flex between mid and ADC. But man, if you play her mid, how are you gonna win any skirmish around mid? And her cooldowns are so long. Even though they buffed her ulti, I just don't see why I would pick a Seraphine over Sona. Or I mean, she doesn't really specialize anything. She doesn't specialize in doing well in lane. She doesn't specialize in like outscaling everyone. She doesn't outscale harder than Sona. Her main thing over the other enchantresses is her ulti is really long, right? It's one of the best teamfight spells, but I mean, everything else about her is kind of not great, you know? I would place her C or D, personally. But I do know they like her a lot. Oh, see? Nemesis?
Okay.
Okay.
Soraka.
Okay, good.
B?
If it was B, I would have really disagreed because I try my hardest. I love playing Seraphine. I try my hardest to make her work. She just does not work. The only time I can think of that they would ever make a Seraphine with work in Worlds is maybe with Seraphine Sona bottom. And only the bottom teams would do that because they'd try to cheese a win.
No one is gonna play her, but she's broken.
Okay, so they're pretty known for putting Soraka high on the tier list, but it's actually correct this time because I think after the buff where her ulti cleanses grievous wounds and it procs before the ulti heal, I think she kind of just like, if she's picked at the right time against team comps that can't like burst them down too quickly, she could just like 1v5 the whole game just with healing. There's some comps that just can't beat her. You need to have some kind of burst and something that threatens her specifically from like healing everyone back to full. She can heal someone back to full in like 1 or 2 heals. And on top of that, like ulti, cleansing Grievous off everyone. Think about the meta right now. Irelia Gore Drinker, you know, like Gore Drinkers everywhere. Just the cleansing that heal debuff off people is gonna increase her entire team's healing by so much more, even if she's not the one healing them. So I actually think she's very strong. And bonus, she's hard to kill. She actually lanes totally fine. She doesn't die to like a single all-in from a Leona. Like maybe Amumu if it's played perfectly with a really aggressive AD carry, but she's very durable. I think her weaknesses would have to be she can't really roam. She's bad at roaming and vision control is really tough from behind. So you have to play for fighting.
Sona's actually broke. Do you think anyone's gonna play her though?
No.
1 second, my sound's not working.
I never see her.
Oh, she's actually kind of gross.
Sona's good. The reason why Sona is good is because she scales really fast. All she needs is Moonstone. Once she has Moonstone, I would say she's fully scaled. And that doesn't take very long. Weaknesses for Sona would be very vulnerable early game. You know, her lane is not weak. I think it's actually pretty strong. The problem is she dies really easily. So if you misstep once or twice, she can get snowballed upon really easily and you'll lose control of the game really fast. I'm curious to see what Sona combos come out.
Hard to say.
Huh?
Hard to say.
Yummi.
Yumi's B for sure. According to their tier list, she would go in B.
Let's see.
Because I feel like I'm explaining it more than them. Okay, so I thought they would talk a little bit more about each pick. Okay, so the reason why Yummi is B is because she has a lot of really good matchups right now. For example, if you're saying all of these are the good picks, then Yummi does really well against Lulu, does well against Soraka, does well against Sona, does well against Karma, does well against Braum. Because they can't really interrupt her from going to reattach, you know? And so she'll slowly win the sustain war, and she wins it even harder now that her passive is such a low cooldown now. You're constantly getting your mana back, and so you can constantly spam the E when before you really could not.
Zyra.
D?
C or D?
Taric.
Yeah, they both put her in D. Zyra, her plants just kind of just die randomly. I think they need a little bit more health. I feel like with that one small change, she could become good. But since like at any given time, her plants can just die and she can do nothing, I think it's too risky of a pick. On top of that, she's really squishy.
B?
Taric good. Let's do these.
I don't like Taric and B. Taric, I think, doesn't belong right now because his ulti is so good, right? His great ultimate, right? Such a long cooldown. Think about how long most teams go, even in like competitive game without fighting. Not very long. And Taric, he'll have his ulti, once every couple skirmishes. The meta is kind of favoring these lower cooldown champions, lower cooldown ultis, lower cooldown CCs, you know, or heals and shields, whatever, so that you can keep fighting at any given point where you feel like you have an advantage. But with Taric teams, even if you feel like you have an advantage, sometimes they'll be like, oh, at least wait for ulti. You wait for ulti, your window's gone. I don't like that about him. And he's not the easiest to lane. He can lane against stuff that dives into him, but against anything that doesn't dive into him, he'll slowly lose the lane. I would put him C or D.
Let's do these weird ones last. Tom is terrible. Shen.
Terrible.
Not good.
Terrible.
Tom's not good.
Senna.
Shen
You see?
Shen is playable, but I don't think we'll see it when there's so many other good options, you know? Senna.
Zilean.
Senna. Okay, actually, I think Senna. I agree. I actually think Senna's pretty good, but I do think in competitive, people will prefer not to play her because she's more of a greedy pick. It's like telling your support you hire like such an expensive roster to compete at Worlds, and then you tell your support to do the carrying. You know, that's kind of what Senna is. There's only room for so many carries on the team. So some people have to like not take as many resources, and some people need to die to protect the others, kind of deal, or to start the fire, or whatever. And usually it's going to be support. I just don't see people picking Senna support. I wonder if they'll do like Senna AD fasting though. She's a good champ. I mean, the carries in competitive, man, they take so many resources. They take everything. That's how they get so much CS per minute.
Love to see some good Worlds content less than
very
3.
good.
Zilean?
Not sure.
Zilean, if
Nico.
played perfectly, is good, but I just don't think anyone in the Worlds is like a Zilean main, you know? I think if you're a Zilean main, go for it, but otherwise, you know, there are simpler champions to play that can have a high impact as well.
C as well.
Okay. Velkoz.
I think worse. C as well.
Wow, Velkoz
Xerath.
C when they put Galio in D?
C?
He's not D. He's broken.
I said C.
He's not C either.
Well, it's not like anyone's gonna play him, Alice.
Yeah, no, Velkoz Xerath type champions, I just think don't belong in competitive. They don't provide, again, the same concept as Senna. You know, they're the carries, not the 80 carry or anything like that, you know. And if they fall behind, good luck coming back into the game, you know. These are, yes, perfectly played, they do not fall behind, but you'll miss a gank timing. You overstep one time where they'll flash on you when you're over aggressing or whatever. They're tough to make work.
Taliyah.
I would put both of them in D.
If
At
I
least
think
Zilean
Xerath
has
is
CC.
B, I would put Taliyah there too. Myself.
What is her combo?
What is that? What does it mean? If you think Xerath is B, then I'll put Taliyah there too. I mean, Taliyah is better than Xerath. Taliyah roams a lot faster and less reliant on items. Taliyah base damages are incredibly high. You can one shot with just base damages. I think, again, the most important part is probably roaming. And against like a Leona, she actually has protection. You know, Xerath just gets ulted and dies. Leona like can ult her, but if she lays the E beforehand and Leona E's onto her, Leona can also, it can be a trade kill too. And Taliyah just like bullies way harder in early lane. Taliyah, again, probably no place in competitive for supporting, but probably B or C. C.
She doesn't need a combo. She's like alone, standalone.
Okay,
Really buffs are really
I'll
good
just
for
I'll
Taliyah.
defer to you on
Agreed.
this one, but I don't have any input on Taliyah.
Well, I think she's much better with the new buffs. I think
She also, her
Okay,
ulti is
okay.
pretty good in
Yeah, I don't have any. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Pantheon.
Yeah, he's horrible.
Yeah, he is. You mad?
And Amumu
I
you can
am.
put on like
Yeah, I
A
know you are.
plus, but not S. I think there should just be A plus and
Support
A.
is
I think that
scuffed.
would make more sense. I swing
No, I think this probably just makes sense. The thing is that supports are really dependent on surrounding team compositions.
I would put Rell on B personally.
Yeah,
She's
supports
the
are really
playmaking.
dependent on surrounding team compositions, the way that things are
they're
right
B.
now. And there's more meta-defining champions in other roles than there are predominantly in support, so I think it makes
And
sense that
set
it's very
C
clustered.
because he can flex.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
He's popular
Brand's not
top
going to be
mid
played,
and
so we
support,
didn't add
so he
him.
will
And
be more
then
valuable.
I'm not going to add Silas.
All right.